how's it going? I just had a hummingbird incident. A hummingbird got stuck in my house and it got stuck in my skylight, and then I tried to rescue it and get it out of the house, but it died. I don't know if it died from shock or potentially like breaking its neck, just like slamming against the skylight, or I might have even injured it. I hope that's not what happened, but yeah, it was kind of sad. It was really sad, and I'm really feeling a little bummed about it now. Anyway, I got commissioned by my friend Caitlin, hi Caitlin, to do a watercolor for her, and she just requested a vampire bat babe, and that was all the instructions I got, so I just kind of went with it. So let's get into it. So I'm really bummed about that hummingbird. I ended up putting it in the freezer, and I'm donating it to a lady that restores wind-up birds and antique clocks, so I'm interested to see what she does. She'll use the feathers to restore an old wind-up bird. It kind of made me think of the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, which is a really good book if you haven't read it. I also ended up buying a hummingbird feeder and put it outside my kitchen window, just kind of as a tribute to the fallen bird. And already in the last week, there's been so many hummingbirds that look just like it, coming and drinking some nectar. So I feel like I've given back a little bit at least. I decided to start my watercolor idea in Procreate so I could just get an idea of what colors and what shapes I want to use. I've realized it's way easier to plan this part out in advance. It also makes it a lot easier to adjust the colors and get exactly what you want before you start painting. This is definitely a little extra step, but it works for me. Next, I used a headlamp, which is definitely a little random, but I don't have a light table, so I used a headlamp under my glass table and just used a pencil to cover the back of the drawing. And then I used a pink gel pen so I could see what I was doing, and I just drew over the printed lines so that the pencil would come straight onto the watercolor. This is definitely the best method for me because I hate when I have to do a grid drawing and it never quite looks like my first drawing, and I always end up comparing it, so I just trace it. Maybe it's lazy, I don't know. I'm also just getting used to these watercolor blocks. They're kind of fun. Normally I just tape it onto a board, but this works too. I just kind of hate the ragged edges you get at the end because there's a little bit of plastic that gets stuck, but what are you gonna do? I've used these micron pens forever, and they're definitely my go-to. I really like them because you can draw over them with Copic markers or watercolor over them, and they just don't get smudged. They're pretty hardcore. I have a few Copic multi-liners too, but they're really expensive, and I don't know. I feel like the micron pens work just as well for me. I will say though, I do love Copic markers. I'm kind of obsessed with them. I don't really want to think about how much money I've spent on them altogether though. This is my favorite part. I love erasing the pencil underneath the line work. It's just so satisfying, and it looks so good when you're done, and it's like, wow, I look like such a confident artist. All right, now it's on to the watercolors. I think watercolors are one of my favorite mediums, but I also feel like they're the medium that I use that I'm the worst at, so I really want to practice more. I feel like there's so much more you can do, and I really want to explore all of that because watercolors can just be so diverse, and you can get so many cool patterns and textures when you just overlap watercolor over watercolor. I also really want to experiment with lining my art with gouache instead of just doing my micron pens because I think it looks so good. But I think you need a really good brush, and I don't really have the best line brush. I guess this means it's time to go to the art store, which is my favorite thing to do. I kind of cheated, and I'm using this painting as my Drawlloween entry for today, although I actually did this right before October started. But, you know, two birds, one stone. I'm really enjoying doing Drawlloween. I haven't done it before, but I've done Inktober quite a few years, and last year I was pretty depressed and I couldn't even get through like the first 3 or 4 days. So it feels really good to have the time and the energy this year to just smash it out. And I'm really excited with what I've drawn so far. I'm doing everything in Procreate except for today, which is cheating anyway because I didn't really do it today. But it's been really fun, and every year I always end up meeting new artists on Instagram and talking to people and seeing so many awesome art styles. I just love it. I feel like this vampire babe is giving off some total Marceline vibes. She's definitely my favorite Adventure Time character, although I love Lumpy Space Princess as well. I just finally finished all 10 seasons and I cried like a baby at the end. It's so good. I love it. If you have never finished Adventure Time, I highly recommend it because the seasons towards the end are just so good and full of plot and character development, and it's adorable. I went as Marceline for Halloween one year and it was the best. I definitely like being a vampire. I don't know that I'll get to do anything for Halloween this year, but I'm still gonna dress up. I don't know what I should do yet. If you have any ideas, you should put them in the comments because I'm always open to new costume ideas. I've done a lot of different costumes. Most Halloweens I end up doing like at least 2 or 3 costumes, and it's just, I don't know. It's the highlight of my year. This year, being in quarantine though, we'll just have to all find new creative ways to get spooky. I love that this year Halloween is on a full moon. It's pretty exciting. I'm not really into astrology or anything like that, but I do really feel like connected to the moon. I love the moon. It's so beautiful. I've seen so many beautiful eclipses and super moons, and it never stops impressing me no matter how old I get. It's probably why I draw the moon in like almost every drawing that I do. When I lived in Australia, I actually saw one of the most amazing blood moons rise up and then turn into an eclipse, and it was so breathtaking. I really loved when I lived in Australia, which is where I met Caitlin that I'm doing this painting for. We met at a circus school in Perth that I used to work at, which I adore to this day, and I really loved my time there. All right, that's it. Here's the finished little guy. I'm gonna be running off to the post office now to ship this back to Western Australia, where I used to live and where Caitlin still lives. And that's all. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for watching.